What if everything that you've heard about starting a supplement brand is dead wrong? We see many founders follow myths that neglect the compliance realities of dietary supplements that can sabotage the business before they even made the first sale. This is something that I see every week working with new and established brands. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 biggest supplement startup myths so that you can skip costly mistakes and not get blindsided by all these legal requirements and instead approach this business like a pro and finally launch with confidence. So what's the big mistake that I see 97% of supplement startups make? Well, let me show you. Imagine your computer. You've spent hours researching the perfect model. It's essentially your lifeline for business and daily life. So you want to protect it with antivirus software, right? The software runs a check, making sure that you're safe from viruses. While having antivirus software is great, if you start clicking on every shady link or replying to scam emails, you're still at risk. The antivirus gives you a basic safety check, but your behavior matters just as much, if not more. It's the same with supplements. Brands falsely believe that lab testing the products or passing Amazon's testing program is a testament to their quality. But testing is just one layer of protection, and here's why this is a problem. First, multivitamins, herbal ingredients, and complex formulas can give you really inconsistent test results. Sometimes they're in spec, sometimes they fail, sometimes it's indeterminable. Not only that, but it raises a ton of questions and is also a legal problem. Second, labs vary in their ability to test supplements, even the large, well-known ones. They don't have the right equipment, they don't have the right method for your unique formula. Third, you can't just keep testing and retesting until you get the answers you want. That's not real quality control, that's wishful thinking and horrible science. Lastly, testing is something you do at the end of the process. What's not accounted for is the work that led up to it. Remember the good old days of final exams? You can cram and maybe pass, but that doesn't mean that you actually learned or understood the materials. And it's the same with supplements. Testing is not the same as prevention. True quality comes from capturing issues before and after testing and finding things that testing alone can't catch. So if testing isn't everything, well, what's missing? Think of a medieval battle. You've got your archers, your swordmen, your cavalry, your cannons. All are experts in their own right. But if they don't work together, you're going to lose. You need a general to coordinate the entire army. So for you, the supplement startup founder, don't just test your products, test your whole operation. We're talking about auditing your suppliers, grill your manufacturers, and make sure every link in the chain is solid. Be the general. That's how you build a brand that lasts. And speaking of building a brand that lasts, there's one trap that can sink you pretty quick, and that is making product claims that don't stand the test of time. Let me show you what I mean. Meet Jerry, a high school senior who is a little bit behind on his history reading. And on pop quiz day, Jerry's lucky. His good friend Andy sits right next to him and lets him peek at his answers. All confident, Jerry fills in the exam thinking that he's nailed it. But a week later, the grades come back. Jerry got an F because Andy got an F. Well, it turns out Andy didn't study either. Here's a lesson. Copying off Andy doesn't work for Jerry, and it doesn't work for brands either. So when you see a competitor selling 60,000 units a month on Amazon, I know it's tempting to copy their product claims, but if you copy their answers, you're also copying their mistakes and their risks, especially in a regulated industry like supplements. And just because a brand is big or established or has garnered a ton of sales, it doesn't mean that their claims are safe or compliant. Sometimes those brands are just better at flying under the radar, or they just haven't been caught yet. So how do you make bold claims without taking on this unnecessary risk? First, take inspiration from successful brands, but just don't copy their formula. It's like as if you buy a fancy looking protein shake because your favorite athlete swears by it, you chug it down only to realize it tastes pretty gross. And that's because what works for them might not work for you. So you want to build your own formula because you don't know what you're getting yourselves into if you're just going to copy their stuff. Second, don't rely on your manufacturer to do the homework for you. Their R&D is about making the product, not validating claims, and I encourage you to press their sales rep if they say otherwise. The responsibility for what you say always falls on you, the brand owner. Third, always vet your claims yourself. Use real scientific research to back up what you say. And that's how you build a brand that doesn't just pass the test today, but keeps winning year after year. But what about that little asterisk on the supplement label? You know, the one that says, these statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Doesn't that protect the brand? This is what I call the no offense or just saying fallacy. You know, when someone says, you look fat, no offense, it's still offensive, right? Or I'm just saying you're really annoying, just saying, still doesn't soften the blow. See, the FDA disclaimer works pretty much the same way, and just because it's there doesn't mean you have this free pass to make wild claims. This is a super common myth that leaves brands exposed thinking that they're safe when they're actually not. The thing is, this disclaimer doesn't protect you, but here's what actually does. When coming up with claims, here are the rules. Number one, no disease or drug claims. Swapping in words like supports or may help just doesn't cut it. If you say your product lowers cholesterol or may help support lower cholesterol, that's still a drug claim. Number two, make sure that your claim is true. That means checking the clinical studies yourself. Don't cherry pick one or two. Look at the whole body of research, what scientists call the totality of evidence. You're looking at all of the studies, not just the ones that you like or that are favorable to you. Number three, use AI with caution. Right now, AI gets it wrong more often than we'd like, or even makes up studies. So always check the studies yourself. Don't just trust the summary. So you've put in all this hard work, formulating, branding, avoiding all these rookie mistakes. But here's the kicker, one slip up in shipping and all that effort can go straight down the drain. Let me show you what I mean. On one side, you've got yourself a t-shirt. You fold it, toss it in the bag, and it survives the journey just fine. On the other side, you've got a dozen roses, and if they're not handled with care, kept cool, hydrated, protected, well, what arrives is a complete letdown, which defeats the entire purpose of sending the roses in the first place. And as for supplements, they're more like flowers. Customers are trusting you with their hard-earned cash, and the last thing that they want is for them to open up their package and find a banged up box or a broken safety seal, or worse, a product that's lost its potency because it's been sitting outside for 3 hours in the hot sun to get loaded into a warehouse. And yes, that does happen. So the lesson here, shipping supplements is nothing like shipping t-shirts. You need warehouses that actually know the rules. We're talking about FDA regulations, proper storage, and careful handling. And they also need to plan for returns and, knock on wood, recalls, because in this industry, recalls do happen. So here's your checklist to get ahead of all of this. Number one, only use warehouses experienced with supplements and foods. Go and visit them like you would a manufacturer. Check for cleanliness, storage conditions, proper procedures, including inspection and receiving. And make sure that they have a plan for product returns and recalls and bonus points if they've actually been involved in a recall. There's a lot more to this, but if you get these basics right, you're miles ahead of the competition and can operate more swiftly. And speaking of moving fast, there's a myth that trips up more founders than almost anything else, especially if they're new to the supplement space or just haven't run into trouble yet. The reality is that most entrepreneurs want to launch quickly to grab those sales, but there's a huge difference between moving swiftly and smoothly versus being fast and sloppy. Think of it like driving in rush hour. You see people constantly switching lanes, trying to get ahead, but in reality, they barely moved any faster and just end up more stressed out. Well, that's fast and clunky. Now imagine you left 10 minutes earlier or 15 minutes later, or took a few minutes to plan a smarter route using side streets. Now that's swift and smooth. In the supplement world, many founders new to this space think that they can worry about compliance later. But here's what really happens. They rush to launch only to hit a wall when someone else finally checks the label or tests the products, and then bam, you got 10 compliance issues that stops everything from production to sales, and essentially the brand got nowhere fast. Even worse, some skip compliance entirely, go to market, and suddenly face a flood of customer complaints, maybe even a recall. And that's a nightmare that you definitely want to avoid. So what's the solution? Well, you want to factor in compliance early. It's kind of like brushing your teeth before you get a cavity, not after. So if you're in the early stages, this is the perfect time to see where compliance fits before you've locked anything in or paid any deposits. And there are really two big payoffs here. First, you'll learn how to spot risk. When you know the rules and you know what's normal in the industry, you can then decide what's risky for your business and what's not. Second, you can set up compliance that fits your size. Big brands have whole departments for this, but you don't need to hire a team right away. There are simple checks and procedures that you can implement right now to make sure that your suppliers and partners are accountable and to lay a foundation for quality as you grow. So how do you actually do this? Well, that's where we come in. We help supplement brands set up the right procedures, review formulas, vet suppliers, check labels and websites, and build a quality program that your customers expect and can trust. And if you're new to this, well, we've got consultations and online training to help you get started. Just check out the links in the description down below. And if you're wondering, well, what comes next and where do I start to launch a supplement brand? Well, I want you to check out this video here on my step-by-step guide to launching your supplement brand legally. All right, I'll leave it there for now. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.